Hi everyone, and welcome to my video on indirect LED lighting for entertainment centers, for built-in bookcases, for furniture, tray ceilings, and many other projects. There's lots of different ways that these ideas can be implemented. I'm thinking that if you found your way to this video, it's probably because you have a project where the concepts here can be implemented. And I'm also thinking that you probably are the type of person that likes to roll up your sleeves and figure out how to do it yourself. So you're in the right place, and let's get right into it. First, I want to talk a little bit about indirect lighting design. Indirect lighting is configured in a way where the light fixture is obscured by a molding, a piece of trim, or some other element, but you still get to see the light reflected off of other surfaces. So you see the result of the light without seeing the source of the light. Places where we find indirect lighting used is in restaurants, spas, and hospitals, because the result is a nice calming effect. So it's a really beautiful way to light a space. I have here a built-in entertainment center in my basement. My plan is to install LED lighting here in the center bay, behind the TV, in the 3 component bays below the TV, and then to the right and to the left of the TV, the shelving units. So those are the areas that I'd like to add some LED lighting. And I have here a strip of LED lighting, and just a quick demonstration here. If I were to take this lighting and attach it right here on the top of the shelf, that would be an example of direct lighting, right? You'd see the result of light, but you'd also see the source of the light. An alternative that I might consider is to find a place where there's an overhang like we have here, right? So I could attach this LED strip lighting on the back side of this piece of molding, and now we would see the light reflected off of the back wall of this shelving bay, but the light source itself is actually hidden back here. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here today. Hopefully that makes sense. There are a lot of tricks to make this work well, but before we proceed, I think we're gonna need to do something about these wires here. You can see in the shelving bays, all of the video components that I have set up here have wires that are just completely visible, and I think we're gonna need to do something about that. You know, even if we were to execute this indirect lighting plan flawlessly, without some good cord management, the wow factor that we just created will be completely lost. So I'm gonna do something a little bit unconventional here. I'm actually gonna have you pause this video and go into the video description and then click the link to my cord management video, where I will be discussing some solutions to some of these cord management challenges. Okay, with the cord management piece behind us, let's move on to the lighting. So this is not a sponsored video, but I'm using a system by Muzada where the LED lights are placed in an aluminum channel like this, and then a diffuser is placed on top. Okay, and there are a lot of different products out there for LED lights, but rather than mixing and matching, I like the idea of using products that were designed to go together, as is the case here. So I'll provide an Amazon affiliate link in the description, so you can check that out after the video is over. But I want to go on to say that one of the challenges with LED lights is they project a small dot where each light module is located. And this dot is even visible when reflected off of other surfaces, as you can see here. And in indirect lighting design, that sort of defeats the purpose of creating that soft glow from an unseen source. So the Muzada system eliminates dots in 2 different ways. First, the diffuser that caps the aluminum channel is of a thickness and opacity that effectively scatters the light. And second, in order for the diffuser to work properly, The LED lights need to be a set distance from the diffuser. And you can see when we bring the LED lights right up tight against that diffuser, we can still see dots. But once we back the diffuser off of the light source, we can see that those dots virtually disappear. So the height of the aluminum channel is definitely a design element that is critical to ensuring that the spacing is correct, right? So this distance where the LED light strip would be placed and where the diffuser begins is uniformly achieved by using this aluminum channel. And so that's what I love about this system. It's a pretty brilliant design, actually. So these channels also come with end caps, and these end caps have a small hole so that you can run wires through them. And then they would be placed at the ends like this, okay? And then last, I just want to mention too that this system comes with mounting clips, right? So you would screw this to a surface, and there are some provided screws. And then once this is attached, you can just clip the aluminum channel with the LED lighting in place. And so that's how you'll secure this system in most cases. Mine's a little different, but in most cases, this is how you'll do it. Let's take a close look at the LED lights so I can show you how this will work. First, these lights come with a self-adhesive backing, which is how we will secure the lights to the aluminum channels. And then second, my LED lights come in a 16.4 foot strip, or 5 meters. But in my application, I don't want a continuous strip. My light strip needs to be attached to various places and then jump to another location where the LEDs will resume. So to accomplish this, it's important to use LEDs that can be cut to custom lengths. And I'm gonna zoom in here to show you something. If you look closely at the strip, you'll see intervals where we have 3 copper pins all in a row. And these represent your cuttable locations. You can use scissors to cut these strips at whatever interval you like. And it's worth noting that the spacing of these copper pins varies with different LED products. And in some cases, these cuttable locations are like every foot or so, which can be really limiting for a project like mine. These LED lights run in segments of approximately 1.25 inches. So it gives me a lot more versatility. When cutting these LED strips, it's tempting to make a cut with your scissors that bisects that copper pin here. However, a better way to do it is to make a cut right here, okay? And that gives you a full copper pin to play with. And on the other side, we're going to sacrifice this segment here. There's no ability to make a connection on this end where the copper pins have been cut. But we're gonna cut this center out and leave a full pin on the next segment so that we can use that moving forward. Once we measure and cut our first strip, we need to add extension wire to jump to the next location. And that's what we have here on the right. My LEDs are 3-pin LED lights, therefore I'm using 3-pin LED extension wire. If you had a 5-pin LED light, then you'd need a corresponding 5-pin wire. And what we're going to be using to marry these two pieces together is this little plastic connector here. Okay, it's different on each end. This end accepts the LED light, okay, and this end will accept the 3-pin extension wire. And you can see those 3 little receptacles for the wire to be placed. So inside the connector here, we can see that there are some metal pins. Those need to penetrate the LED strip in order for the connection to be complete. So you come in sort of on the top of the pins, and you can see that little white module there. We need to be just shy of that. And then we press down to complete the connection. That's all there is to it. Now let's do the other end. So the 3-pin extension wire is comprised of 3 individual wires. And if you look down the end of it, you can see some copper in the center and then white insulation around it. To make this connection, we actually need to separate these 3 different wires. So I'm going to use a razor blade to carefully cut a little separation here. And then we can take this to the connector, right? And simply line them up, press them in place, and press down. And there you have it. So with this connection complete, we now just chase down the extension wire to the point of the next connection, which is right here. And this is really just a mirror image of the installation that we just did, so no need to re-demonstrate it. But what I will point out is that these LED strips have an orientation. There is a bottom and a top. And it's important to maintain that orientation throughout your project to ensure that the power is getting to the right places in the right way. So one of the great reference points that I'll point out on this particular strip is that in between each of these copper connectors, there's an arrow on each one. And the arrow is always located on the bottom. So as long as I keep all of my LED strips with the orientation of that arrow on the bottom, I will be in good shape. But it's also important that I make sure that these wires don't get twisted, because remember that bottom wire is carrying the current from the bottom connector on the other end through this point, and it needs to connect to this bottom copper pin. So if I were to get the wire twisted upside down and then make that connection, that is incorrect. So one of the things that I'm going to get in the habit of doing is making a mark on the bottom wire of each cut point, okay? So that when I go and fish that wire through a wall or a hole, whatever comes out the other end, I have a visual cue as to which is the bottom, okay? And that's pretty much the system. You go from LED strip to extension, to LED strip, to extension, and so on, until you have all of your runs in place. So once you have that down, you can pretty much rinse and repeat and go through the process of completing your installation. Let's get over to the entertainment wall and we'll start doing some work. Back at the entertainment wall, I went ahead and I fished the power supply for the LED strip and fed it into the arterial cord conduit that we went over in the cord management video. By the way, this is not a video about fishing wires, which is a whole separate skill, but you can certainly search that on YouTube and find some good resources. So I'll be sharing this cord conduit system as I install the LED lights, and I've run the LED power supply up through here, where you can see the LED light strip coming across. We still need to place that in that aluminum channel. It then returns to LED extension wire right there and feeds back into that cord conduit and up to the next shelf where I have it open for the next connection here. So that's the system that I'll be following. And the one thing that I do need to show you next is how to cut the aluminum channel. So let's head back to the workshop and I'll show you that. To cut the aluminum channels to the lengths that we need, we take them to a miter saw with the diffuser and the channel connected. Do make sure to wear safety glasses for this step. The aluminum bits that come off the blade are pretty nasty. I measured for my first cut, so let's fire it up. With the aluminum channel cut, I now have all the pieces in place to complete this segment of the installation. One thing I do want to point out is I stole a trick from the previous video. I'm using two-sided foam tape on the inside of the aluminum channel. So once I install the LED strip, the extension wire, I think by design, would probably go on the outside of the channel. However, in my case, just to keep things tidy, I'm actually going to run it inside the channel. But rather than having that extension wire block the LED lights, I'm going to make sure that it's secured tight against the side of the channel. So we'll peel back the strip there to reveal the adhesive and press that extension wire in place. Now that it's all assembled, you can see we've got the LED strip down in the center of the channel. Here is the connector at the end, which brings it back to extension wire. And that extension wire is taped to the side of the channel and exits where the whole thing came in. And then that extension wire continues into the channel up top. And once again, you can see that green mark that I made so that I can keep my orientation as I put the next segment together. As each segment is completed, I am adding the diffuser on top and then just setting it on its side facing back towards the wall behind the cord conduit. With the bookshelves complete, we're now going to take the extension wire and we're going to run that up through the hole at the top of this cord conduit. And it is going to come out just behind this TV, which is where we're going to set up our next set of lights. This project is kind of cool in that there are a lot of different configurations that need to be achieved for this to work, so it's a great demonstration of some of the tricks to fit your project. All right, the TV has to come down first though. Okay, here behind the TV you can see a lot more of what I was trying to keep hidden, and I was successful in getting the extension wire to this location here. We're gonna set this aside for now and we'll cut that to length when the time is right. But I do want to talk about backlit LED light installations for TVs. A lot of the videos are going to have you tape the LED strips directly to the back of the TV. And although that works, it does make things a little complicated if you ever have to take that TV down because it's connected now via adhesive and all those wires. So in my installation, I'm actually not going to attach it to the back of my TV. Rather, I've actually used this Musada frame to create an extended octagon. And each of these cuts here is a 22.5 degree cut on the miter saw to make a perfect connection. I'll also link an Octagon measurement calculator that might help you if you're going to be doing this as well. Anyway, we're going to take this aluminum framework, aluminum extended octagon, and we're going to bring that up and wrap it right around the TV mount. And the light is going to actually shoot out sideways. So it's going to go out in this direction, up, left, and down. So that's the direction of the light. Let me get this up there and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, we have most of the aluminum channel up now, all but one piece, and I just want to point out we've got that channel facing outward, right? So this slot here is where the LED light will be placed, and it will run all the way around, pointing in all directions. And I'll just show you how I attach these. You know, I could have used mechanical fasteners to secure these, but it really seemed like overkill. I'm going to be using double-sided tape here, right? So once you've got everything cut, you just set your section up, and I'll fit this last piece in place, like so. And one last thing too, you'll notice that we've got a hole cut in the face of this one, and that's where our wires will find their way into the channel, in and out actually. Quick clip addition here, and we're ready to transition to the LED strips. I went ahead and installed the LED strip lights in the aluminum channel all the way around. We also put the diffuser caps on each segment, with the exception of this one, so that I could show you that we now convert back to LED extension wire. And so this returns back into the wall and pops out down by the sound bar, which we'll talk about next. But first I wanted to talk to you about the shape that we selected for this aluminum LED light. Octagon is sort of an odd choice, but I wanted to explain. If we had gone with a rectangle, we would have a strip light going right up along here that would project in that direction, and we would have another strip light going across the top here of this black frame, and that would be projecting in this direction. And we would have issues here at the corners where light is originating from here and going in this direction, and here and going up, and this area up here would become a dark spot. Okay, so the octagon shape was chosen so that we can project light into the corners for a more even distribution of light. So I thought that was worth explaining. So down at the soundbar now, where we can see the extension wire coming out, we have a little bit of a different challenge here, which is we don't have enough room to put a full aluminum channel back here behind the soundbar. It's real tight up against the wall that it's mounted to. So I'm gonna have to deviate from the plan a little bit. On the bright side, the space that's here is just big enough for a diffuser to fit in. So I think what I'm going to do here is tape the LED strip to the diffuser, have a little extra slack on the extension wire, and allow this, this diffuser with the LED light to be sort of set behind the soundbar. So let me show you what I'm thinking. We'll get right into it. All right, so here's what I came up with, getting real creative here to try to figure out a good solution. I took the LED diffuser and placed the LED strip inside, upside down, and then removed the adhesive backing. Then I took some clear tape and I secured each end of it. And then I wrapped the whole thing in clear tape. You can probably barely make it out here in the video, but there is sort of a taut piece of tape that crosses this span here. And because we have the adhesive backing of the LED strip in direct contact with that tape, those two surfaces really want to be together, be connected. So we actually have a nice space between the LED strip and the diffuser, as opposed to just pressing it right up into the diffuser. I showed you those dots earlier. That's what we're trying to avoid. So I'm hoping that this will fit behind and be a good solution. Let's test it out. Okay, so here's the test, and you can see that we're just getting to the point where those dots are starting to show through. Unfortunately, I just can't space them anymore to make those go away, so I'm sort of stuck with them and hoping that where this will be positioned behind the soundbar, that the dots will further dissipate as the light bounces around. But this is the solution I'm going to run with, and I just need to make a few more changes here, and then I'll show you it in place. I made a longer piece of my test diffuser strip, and this is what we're going to be putting in with the soundbar. This extension goes to the next bay, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but I'll just get in here real quick and show you how this is going to work. This soundbar is turned on its side, so we're looking at its back right now, and these are the brackets right there. What I found in my case is that these diffusers can just slide right in the base of them, and then once I flip this around and mount it, it is completely obscured and exactly in the right position, so very fortunate. Soundbar reinstalled. No wires visible. That's what we're looking for. Let's move on to the component bay below, and first up we'll remove the PlayStation. For this piece of the installation, I created a little design using the aluminum channel. So this is going to fit behind the PlayStation and be obscured by it so you can't see it. So I have sort of this flat part in the middle that will project to the back. Like the Octagon, I've sort of created these angles on the side so that we can reach the corners. And this will effectively fit right in, somewhere in this range right here. Now here's the thing, if I leave it low like this, it's going to project shadows from our little cord conduit right here. So I actually do want to elevate this a little bit, which is why I created this little wooden form out of 1/8 inch plywood on the bottom. So it kind of holds everything together. This is, once again, double-sided taped together. And of course our LED lights will go in the channel, and then a diffuser on top. So let me just show you how I'm going to elevate this. So here we have a close-up view of the completed assembly, and you'll notice that I took a piece of scrap cord conduit, same height as this, and attached it here with the self-adhesive tape. And then I attached the whole assembly on top of these two surfaces, with double-sided tape, and this already has the diffusers and end caps and LED strips all set up. So this piece is good to go. And once again, just to demonstrate here, we've got the center part which projects light to the back, and then these angled pieces are going to hit the corners, right? That's the idea. All set with this bay. We're gonna rinse and repeat over here at the next bay. You can see my extension wire sticking out. All set to go for that. Once I am done with this bay, we're jumping over here to the left set of shelves. And you guys, this is the point where we're pretty much done demonstrating how to do this. So it's time to get to the big reveal. Let's go to that next. All right, moment of truth. Let's see how we did. Let's light this up. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. Beautiful example of indirect LED lighting. We see everything backlit. We don't see the source of the light. And one of the cool effects here is the TV almost seems to float, which is a really cool viewing experience here, I think. This is gonna be great. Let me cycle through some of the colors here. You guys can maybe chime in, let me know what color you like the most. Several different options. Yeah, those in the middle are not so cool, I don't think. Yeah. I like this one. I think I like the purple. I think I like this purple. And the red. And the blue. I think those are my favorites. A few final talking points. LEDs are known to be a little finicky, to the extent that some electricians are even reluctant to work on projects that involve LED lighting. The issues that come up can sometimes be difficult to diagnose, and many LED projects will involve some degree of trial and error, so do be prepared for this. I'm told in some cases LED performance can be impacted by electrical interference from nearby electrical components, which can cause flickering. But more commonly, long runs of LEDs, particularly if they are extended, as we have done here in this project, can experience what we call voltage drop, where the lights at the beginning of the run work well, but you may experience flickering and or dimness with the lights at the end of the run. If you experience this, you can use a solution called power infusion. There are some videos out there demonstrating the issue along with how to fix it, but these solutions involve wiring, which is a step up in skill level from what I've shown you here today. Plus, improper wiring can pose a safety hazard, so if it were me, I would involve an electrician in executing this fix. But one workaround that you may find helpful is to break up your single long run into multiple shorter runs using separate power supplies. So here is the kit that you would receive for the LED lights. It comes with the strip lights coiled up like this. This piece right here connects through this harness, and this contains the remote sensor. And the remote sensor talks to this white cord here and commands the strips in the way that you order it to. So with a single strip, if you were to try to link, multiple strips together and make a very long run, that's where you could experience these voltage drops. So the workaround that I'm suggesting here is to, rather than linking these together in one long strip, is to use two separate power supplies to run these sections of lights independently. The only challenge with this is that your remote, when you give it the command to turn on, would need to be pressed twice, once for this one and then once for the other strip. So that is one solution. You can do that. Just each command would need to be hit twice and pointed in the direction of the sensor location. But if you are able to configure your setup in a way where these two remote sensors are in the same location, they will both pick up on the same command that you're giving it from the remote. So if you're able to get these sensors closer together, effectively when you tell it to turn on or off or change the color, it will receive that command on both sensors with one click. So something to think about as you consider hiring an electrician or coming up with a workaround. If you plan to configure your setup with 2 separate remote sensors lined up in the same location to operate together with one remote, it might require using some extension wire like this to get one of these remote sensors to the correct location. So these are similar 3-pin wires, but they have these little harnesses at each end which can be connected to the LED strip and this white wire here. So this might come in handy as you're trying to make that configuration happen. I will link this product in the video description so that you have access to it and can research it some more. Okay, a quick troubleshooting tip. I'm gonna bring power to this section of LED lights just to demonstrate one thing. You can see this end piece here is turned on without us commanding it to. At the beginning it's off, and when we go and press on, we see that this initial section is responsive. However, I can change all of the lights and give it various commands, but none of those commands are reaching this segment here. Furthermore, when I go to turn it off, this never turns off, right? So we've lost some functionality. And this is a symptom of you making a cut or a connection while there was current still running through the LED strip. So it really highlights that you really need to disconnect from power before making any of those connections. So your issue is either going to be at one of these connection points, which you want to go back and check, or in this case, and this is important to note, I'll turn it back on and give it a color that we can see better. If you go closely with a closer look, you can see actually that this segment here has blown. Once again, that's a result of making a cut or a connection when there's current running through these LED strips. So the solution here is, this is dead. There's nothing you can do about that. So you would cut it back to the next connection point, of course, and then disconnecting from power before you resume your installation. So I hope that helps to get to the bottom of any issues you might be having as you're putting this all together. If you find yourself having made a mistake and you need to disconnect these connection points, that is possible. You get this little flathead screwdriver which you can use to get underneath these connection points and very gently, carefully pry up. You'll hear a little snap and you've released this from the plastic connector. Same with this side. You can work this screwdriver head right underneath this connection point here, a little twist, and this will pop out and you can reconfigure it as needed. But if you're like me, you're gonna take a look at this. You're gonna get up close and say, hey, these pins inside, they look like they are still intact and pointing in the right direction. And you might be inclined to say, well, I'm gonna reuse this later. Guys, resist that temptation. It's the dad in me that feels it too and wants to be able to utilize this piece again. But I would say that there's a 50% chance that this will work for you again. These are really single use, so once you close them, sometimes these pins can get bent a little bit out of alignment, and it doesn't take much for that connection to become a frustrating problem for you down the road. So my advice, get rid of it. Another issue we see with LEDs is using extension wire that is the improper gauge or thickness, which can in some cases contribute to voltage drop issues. Here I'm using 8mm 3-pin extension wire, which is the gauge you will need in order for these associated plastic connectors to fit within the aluminum channel. Okay, and you can bump it up to a larger wire gauge, but then the plastic connectors that are associated with that higher gauge wire will not necessarily fit within this aluminum channel. So you might need to explore Musada's selection of larger aluminum channels. Sometimes troubleshooting these issues means redoing sections of your installation, which involves using more supplies. And if you're doing it yourself, take comfort in knowing that even if you encounter added expense from needing more materials, It's still going to be cheaper than hiring a professional to do this for you. Although Muzada may not agree with this, I find it's better to order a little bit more than you think you will need and then return what you don't use. The alternative is to encounter issues in the middle of your project, then order additional supplies, leaving your project half done for a few days. And in my experience, spouses don't like it when we have half projects done and living rooms are torn apart for longer periods of time than we've promised. I plan to check comments periodically to check in on questions relating to your installations. However, if you have any real technical questions, I have found Muzada's support department to be very, very helpful and quick to respond. You'll see contact links in the product description so you can check that out. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments about your project's successes, failures, and challenges. And if you have any additional troubleshooting tips that you think would be helpful to share with the community, your input is certainly welcome. And guys, I made this really easy by prepping all the product links in the video description. So your shopping list is pretty much there for you. Good luck with your project, and thank you for watching.